there is hope.
The only established system in the kingdom of our God that sustains men and energizes them in the pursuit of their predestination is hope in God. When there is a scarcity of hope in God, men will not attain the point of realizing the purpose of God for their creation. The book of Jeremiah 1. Before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you. Where did God know Jeremiah? God knew Jeremiah in the council of Elohims. Now understand this. God is Yahweh Elohim. Me and you, we are Elohims. So in the council of the Elohims, before creation, God already knew Jeremiah. So even before Jeremiah was born, Jeremiah was existing. Even before you were born, you were existing already. So you did not came into existence by virtue of the human birth. No, you had existed in the council of the Elohims. So before you came on this earth, God has already orchestrated and programmed a destiny for you to fulfill. That destiny is called predestination. So no man came on the earth by an accident. Your birth was not a mistake. You might have been born out of wedlock, but you were not born out of the purpose of God. Because before your emergence, there was a calculated agenda and programming from heaven. God will not take his time and make an investment on a creator that will appear to be infinitesimal and as a wastage of time. He will never. So before you came on this earth, you had existed somewhere, and in the place of that existence, there was a calculated destiny and purpose for you to fulfill. So the womb of your mother only gave you access into the realm of time, so that you will come on the earth and accomplish the purpose allotted for your life by God. You were not created by God to know God. You were created by God to know yourself. But the reason why you must know God is because the creature cannot know itself until it knows the creator, because your identity is hidden in God. So you must pursue to know God so that you can know yourself, because the easiest way for a man to discover himself is to discover God. So when you know God, you now know yourself. When you were in your mother's womb, a lot of things occurred in your mother's womb. Even before you were formed in your mother's womb, when you were formed in the mind of God and you were a partaker and a member of the councils of the Elohim, there are a lot of things that transpired and you knew them. A lot of things transpired in your mother's womb, you knew them. But the moment you were born, you could no longer remember what occurred in your mother's womb. It is simply because the moment a man's come in under the influence of time, the spiritual memory of the Elohims that gives him access into the agenda of God becomes corrupted by time. That is why you can no longer remember what transpired in your mother's womb. You can't remember what occurred even before you were created. It is simply because when a man comes under the influence of time, time corrupts the spiritual memory of the purposes of God for that man. That is why you can't remember anything. It was not God's intention for him to create prophets. So prophets will now come to you and they tell you, between now and 2 years of your life, this is what is going to happen. Is because due to the bankruptcy and the corruption of your spiritual memory by reason of you being born into time, God is now sending someone who will come to remind you of what transpired even before you existed, while you were among the Elohims in heaven. So God have given you the spirit of discernment to peep into eternity in the councils of Elohim, the agendas even before you were created. So now the God is downloading in your spirit a notion that before you came on the earth, he had already prepared an agenda for you. So you begin to feel like you already know this day. It is simply because before you were born, you knew that day. But the reason why now every day is strange to you, it is simply because of the factor called time. The eternal purpose of God for your life will never become a reality when your heart is void of hope. Hope is a strong spiritual virtue that guarantees the fulfillment of eternal purposes on the earth. Because we live in a generation of many battles, many chaos, topsy-turvydoms and bedlams. And as a matter of fact, all these are satanic orchestrations to derail us from heavenly purpose. But for this purpose to attain fruition, man must have a glance and a grip on hope, because hope is the only agency that can carry men into the prepared place ordained by God for them. Because in the absence of hope, there are many people who will leave their purpose unscratched and uncracked. Why? Because of the many evil circumstances that they are surrounded with. But what will keep you, even at the face of adversity, to keep pressing on for that day that will produce good things, and that day where Jesus will be glorified? It is the hope you have in God. And in the absence of this hope, you will discover that the investments of God in your life, they will end up as a wastage. That is why when a man begins to grow, there is a need for him to have hope in God, because it is the only spiritual virtue that pilots a man into the place of the fulfillment of preordination and predestination. Dreams and visions will perish when your hope in God dies. There is no need for you to give up now. Just have hope in me. Just have faith. That is why you must be careful with what you go through, because the major agenda is to derail you. And when you become derailed, you become defeated. And when you become defeated in the program of God, you become a wastage of investment. So you are not permitted to give up. Why? Because there is somebody whose destiny is supposed to come into manifestation through your success. So you have a spiritual responsibility to become strength to the weak. You have a spiritual responsibility to become encouragement to those who are giving up, because by reason of your creation, God created you so that you can complement the fulfillment of another man's future, another man's destiny.